Like, she won't make it back from Vancouver in time.
Oh, like the
But she wanted to
fairies?
come, yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. I'll send her the link to this live and then she can watch it afterwards. Because I post everything after. I think that's also why sometimes people don't show up, because you post it after, you know?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it'll be posted somewhere.
Yeah, do your friends that came before, like, do they watch the lives, or?
Yeah, they do.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Right on.
Okay, so we're doing March. There's a lot of stuff going on in March. March 1st, we've got Venus going retrograde. You know, people really tend to freak out about retrogrades, but especially Mercury retrograde. Mercury goes retrograde pretty often, though, right? And Venus does not go retrograde very often. I think it goes retrograde like every year and a half or so. Something like that. Every year and a half, every 2 years is when Venus goes retrograde. So it's not something that occurs very often.
This is the first, you said?
Yes, March 1st, right away. First day in March. So yeah. So again, retrogrades are, you know, planets usually look like they're moving in that prograde motion, that forwards motion, and then they kind of stop and then it looks like they're moving backwards, right? So it's an optical illusion, right? But retrogrades are kind of said to be a slowing down and a period of reflection, right? And it's interesting because this Venus retrograde, when we think about currently where Venus sits in Aries, right? And Venus in Aries is a little bit angry, a little bit like rageful, you know? It's a little bit selfish, right? And you know, this is also kind of why Venus is said to be in its detriment in the sign of Aries, because Venus naturally rules over Libra, right? And Libra opposes Aries, right? Libra is the sign of relationships. That's where Venus is kind of naturally in its like home space, and then Aries feels very unfamiliar to Venus, right? So when Venus is in Aries, it's said to be in its detriment, right? But even when a planet's in its detriment, there's still benefits and drawbacks, right? Right, I think like this is also, this concept of detriment too is a traditional astrological concept. There's just people saying hi in the chat. Hi, everyone. But yeah, so even when a planet's in its detriment, right, this is the traditional concept, right? And it's kind of seen as like a bad thing, but it's not necessarily in modern astrology. It's not really considered to be bad. It's just kind of something to keep in mind, right? Like it's Venus in Aries is just a bit more impulsive. It's a bit more focusing on our own needs, on our own wants, on our own desires, right? So I think that that's something to keep in mind, right? Especially I think with your chart, you've got quite a bit of
I was going to say, if Venus
Libra.
rules your chart, then does it impact you more?
Yeah, it'll be, you'll definitely be feeling it a bit more because it will be opposing all those placements that you have in Libra, right? So you're going to feel a lot of tension, right? People are asking what we're talking about. We're doing an astrological forecast for the month of March. March month ahead forecast, astrology forecast, like doing the weather, right? But it's like the astrology stuff instead of the weather. That's what we're doing. Yeah, so we're just talking about Venus going retrograde and what that is going to be like on the 1st of March too. So it's like right away, bang, right? Venus goes retrograde the 1st of March. Yeah, you're gonna feel it more with those Libra placements. Those Libra placements are gonna be aggravated a little bit more. It's gonna kind of just challenge your natural inclinations, right? Towards that peacefulness. So maybe you're getting into more fights lately, right? Sort of thing.
There's a lot with boundaries.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
In relationships.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's more self-focused, right? It's like self-love, right? Venus in Aries is also, it's about self-love because Aries is the sign of the self, Venus, the planet of love, right? Um, yeah. So that's not bad, right? To be focused on ourselves, to be focused on our own desires more so than we usually are, right? Sometimes we get too caught up in focusing on other people's desires. But yeah, we can also swing too heavily the other direction, right? Where we're being too kind of impulsive and too careless when it comes to pursuing our desires, right? So you want to kind of find that balance, right? With this Venus being in Aries, with you in Libra though, because you have, this goes for the same for anyone watching this. If you have a lot of Libra placements, your natural tendency is going to be towards peacemaking, and it's going to be towards kind of that people pleasing and that sort of niceness, you know, and trying to keep the peace and trying to keep everyone happy, right? So you do really want to pay attention when Venus is in Aries for you, right? And just for other people though who have lots of Libra placements, right? Because it's trying to show you something. It's trying to show you the areas in which you need to be a little bit more kind of put your foot down, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah.
When did Venus go into Aries?
I went into Aries, I think a few weeks ago, like 2-3 weeks ago, or maybe, yeah, I'll have to look. Not that, it wasn't that long ago. Like 2 to 3 weeks ago, I want to say, is when Venus first entered Aries. It moved from Pisces to Aries. Venus in Pisces is very nice, and then Venus in Aries is a little bit, you know. But yeah, it's about clarification, really, though. I think this Venus in Aries, right? Clarifying things. And it's interesting too, because Venus, you know, people with Venus in retrograde in their natal charts, they're typically people who can feel things very deeply, but they're also good at like kind of hiding how they feel, right? Like it can bring up some feelings of like loneliness and like isolation. You know what I mean? Because people with Venus retrograde in their natal charts, I don't know if you have it retrograde in your natal chart. It usually says RX beside the planet if you have a retrograde in your, no? Okay. But yeah, people with Venus retrograde in their natal charts, they just take social life and relationships very seriously and they feel things very deeply. But there's also just like a hidden component to that, wanting to keep that hidden, right? Whereas when you think about the Aries energy, there's a lot of like a drive and initiative and like selfishness, right? So it's like a deep love kind of meets this selfish tendency. You know what I'm saying? So it's just this, it's kind of contradictory, but like when you feel how like deep feelings might interact with selfishness, then you can kind of see how that might explode at some point, you know? So you might be seeing, especially, I know there's people in your family though that have Aries, lots of Aries in their chart. Yeah, so yeah, so pay attention to that. If he's going crazy, that's probably why. You know. Yeah, so stuff to keep in mind, right? Yeah, gonna be a little bit of ugliness, right? But it's really about like confronting the ugliness head on, you know. So yeah, great start to the month so far. Right away.
One day.
March 1st, yeah. One day into the month, and it's like, wow, okay. I'm already feeling it though. Like I can already feel it because Venus is in it. So it's called a pre-shadow period, right? Before it actually like goes retrograde. It's said to be in a pre-shadow type of thing, you know? So you can usually feel it like a few weeks kind of like leading up to the actual retrograde itself. Yeah. And then March 2nd, so we got Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces. So a bit of a different energy, right? The Aries and the Pisces. The Aries is kind of the start of things. It's very fiery, it's very extroverted. And then you've got Pisces, right? Very dreamy, very loving, very peaceful, you know? But yeah, Mercury and Neptune, it's like the spiritual plane meets the mental plane, you know? Often those two things, I think I've talked about this on my Instagram quite, like in my Instagram posts, like a couple of times now, about this kind of distinction that people make between the spiritual world and like the immaterial world and the like mental world. I think oftentimes too, when you encounter like, when you go through like yoga training, you kind of learn that like the mental plane, like the thoughts are kind of something to like, in some schools, are like something to like kind of overcome, you know? But with this alignment, there's like kind of like this synthesizing of the two, you know? Like it's like they're not working against each other. Yeah. If that kind of makes sense, right? Like I think it's kind of like maybe we need to think of our thoughts almost as like an energy form, you know, as opposed to seeing our thoughts just as something inherently separate from like spiritual things, like energy, right? Because thoughts are energy.
They are just energy.
Yeah. Right? Like we're always trying to like transcend past the thought, but it's like the thoughts themselves can sometimes illuminate something, right? But yeah, with Mercury and Neptune, and with the sign Pisces too, there's like a lot of creative potential, you know? And there's also an immense sense of peace and oneness with this alignment with Mercury and Neptune. Yeah. So if there's something that you kind of are wanting, definitely meditate on it and like visualize it, and also just think about it. Like there's a lot of like, usually when you meditate, you kind of don't want to think. Usually that's not the goal, but I think there's something here with following the thoughts, with actually like paying attention to the flow of the thoughts that come up, because sometimes they lead you to something pretty profound, right?
Yeah.
Just following the stream of consciousness, right?
When did you say this one is?
This is the 2nd, March 2nd, yeah. And then on the 3rd, we get like a lot of, there's like kind of like, you usually see this when you look at the astrology of everything, you'll usually see like a lot of like energy happening all at once, like a lot of alignments happening all at once, and then it kind of cools down. So like the start of March is pretty like active, and then it kind of calms down a bit, and then we get an eclipse, you know? So like, it's like you'll get like an influx of stuff happening, and then you get like a little break, and then more stuff happens. But on the 3rd, we've got Mercury in Aries. So we've got Venus going retrograde in Aries, and then we've got Mercury entering into Aries, right? Shortly after that, right? Mercury in Aries is very like impulsive thinking, impulsive thoughts. And sort of like it can be about like warring ideas too. Like maybe there's discord in communication, right? Like maybe you're getting into more arguments with people, maybe you're getting into more disagreements with people, right? But there's still something very like lively and very vibrant about it, right? Like it's still like there's still like an extroverted quality to it. Yeah. But there's less resistance towards arguments with Mercury and Aries, you know? Yeah. Aries season, I don't know. Aries season, though, this time around is kind of scaring me, though, just because of like all the political stuff. You know, Aries is traditionally associated with war, and I'm like, oh, geez. I'm like, oh no. Yeah. So that's stuff, that's a little worrying, but, you know. And then on the 5th, we've got Mercury forming a sextile to Pluto. So this is very much like deep conversations, right? Working through trauma. breaking free from wounds, especially wounds of communication, every time Mercury is forming kind of like an aspect to Pluto. That's kind of what we're looking at. Yeah. And then on March 13th, we are at eclipse season once again. So that's exciting. It's a lunar eclipse in Virgo. So yeah, lunar eclipses happen at the full moon, where the moon should be full, but it's being obscured by the shadow of the earth. So you kind of get like this, it's kind of weird, like the energy of an eclipse is weird. It's kind of like this liminal space of like possibility, because it's sort of like the solar influence is being blocked out in both cases, right? Like in one case, because the moon is reflecting the solar rays, right? And if the moon's obscured by the shadow of the earth, it can't reflect any of the solar rays at night, at least, right? But then with the solar eclipse, right, it's actually blocking out the sun itself. So same thing, it's you're not getting any sun, right? So there's like less of the solar principle happening through the eclipses, right? So you get this kind of amplification of this sort of lunar energy, this more like intuitive, flowy thing going on in between the eclipses, right? At least that's how like I see eclipses. Personally, it's like a period of liminality, a period of potential, right? Yeah, with the lunar eclipse especially, it's kind of, I see it almost as like, because it's in the earth's shadow, it's almost like it's amplifying almost the earth energy itself, right? So it's a little bit, I see a lunar eclipse as being a little bit more grounded than a solar eclipse, which kind of makes sense because solar eclipses were traditionally associated with like kind of like chaotic things and like accidents and like bad stuff happening, you know, like sort of there's more superstition surrounding the solar eclipses, right? Yeah, but with eclipses, with eclipse season, you know, people will tell you to like do things. People will be like, oh, what do you want to release? What are you letting go of? All of this stuff, right? Da, 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 da. Like make a laundry list of like things you want to let go of and, you know, or whatever. But during an eclipse, you should actually kind of like not do anything. Maybe an unpopular opinion, but an eclipse, it's kind of just like a natural transmutation process. Like you don't need to do anything to like have the process actually work. Like you don't need to meditate, you don't need to do yoga, you don't need to think about anything. Like you can just like let it flow. Like the energy will kind of come through regardless. But usually with eclipses, like you do see like a lot of things happening. Like it can feel overwhelming. So it's actually good to just like sit back, you know? Not saying you can't go out and do stuff still, but I'm just saying like you don't have to like force yourself to like do this to like it doesn't have to, yeah, it's effortless. Like you don't have to like force yourself to like be a certain way in order to like see the benefits of an eclipse, right? Like you can just chill, you know? Yeah, but it's, you know, again, lunar eclipse in Virgo, so Virgo themes are going to come up, all of that health stuff, all the service stuff, being of service to others, right? Being a practical and material service specifically to other people, right? So like just helping out people in your community, maybe, you know, like I know like I'm like house sitting, so like that sort of stuff, you know? Or like washing people's pets or like just like cleaning the house more, all of that sort of stuff is kind of gonna kind of come up a bit more, right? I am a Virgo. Yes, I am a Virgo. Someone asked if I'm a Virgo. I am a Virgo. This is my lunar eclipse. My lunar eclipse in Virgo. Yeah, and then March 15th, we get Mercury retrograde in Aries. So first of the month, we have Venus retrograde in Aries, and then halfway through the month, we're getting Mercury retrograde in Aries too. So yeah, it is a lot. March is a lot. I remember seeing one video before I did this forecast. I saw a video of this astrologer on my For You page, and she was like, March's astrology sucks. And I'm like, okay, it can't be that bad. And then I did my forecast, and I was like, okay, no, I get what you were saying. Like, it is pretty chaotic. Yeah. So again, it's like the slowing down sort of thing, right? The reflection sort of thing. But this time with our communication stuff, right? So Mercury retrograde, renowned for causing like people just like mishearing each other, right? And like the sort of like technology breakdowns too, like computer stops working, phone stops working, the Wi-Fi's down, you forgot your internet password, you're forgetting everything, and like, you know, it's that sort of thing. It can be like, yeah, kind of frustrating, but yeah, but it's still got that Aries energy to it, right? So there's like a little extra frustration this time around with the Aries, right? And retrogrades, it's like retrogrades are like slowing down and like things aren't working quite as well, but then it's like Aries is like still super impulsive and super like go, 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 you know?
Yeah.
So there's like maybe early on with Mercury being direct in Aries, kind of leading up to the retrograde, maybe there's like more impulsivity. And then maybe when Mercury goes retrograde, you're kind of thinking about like maybe being less kind of like upfront or like less kind of harsh maybe in your words, right? Maybe you're thinking about that, like maybe maybe I need to roll it back a bit, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, and then on March 19th, we've got the Sun and Neptune, Sun forming a conjunction to Neptune. So that's going to be quite nice. Yeah, it's sort of like heightened empathy and understanding, both on like an individual level and a collective level, right? It's very psychically sensitive, right? And it's really, again, highlighting the theme of liminality too, right? Because we do get these eclipses, which are also very liminal, but then we also have kind of these planets forming conjunctions to Neptune, right? In the sign of Pisces. So it's like extra Pisces, right? Because Neptune rules over Pisces. So it's like very, very potent. But then the next day, I find this interesting too. The very next day, the sun enters Aries, right? So this is the thing too with Neptune, because the sun will conjunct Neptune and then it enters Aries. So Neptune is sitting like at the final degree of Aries. It's called the anaretic degree. This is another traditional astrology concept. And the anaretic degree is said to be like kind of like not like the best. It's kind of like you're seeing everything play out almost before the planet goes into the next sign, right? So it's kind of like a culmination of something, right? So there's planet, like if you, in your natal chart, if you have planets at the 29th degree, there's a lot of wisdom in that placement because it's experienced the entire sign, but there's still like a culmination of things, which is why the anaretic degree is associated with like sort of chaotic things happening, you know?
29th degree.
It usually will say on your chart what degrees things are in. Like 17, 20, yeah, your sun is at 29 degrees of Aquarius. I thought you would have one somewhere. I was like, just a hunch. I'm sure Megan has one planet in the
So what does that mean again then?
Your
Like
sun in
heightened-
Aquarius.
Oh, okay.
It's heightened knowledge because it means that the
Wow.
sun has experienced every aspect of the sign, right? So it's like there's a wisdom, like it's wisdom of the sign itself, right?
Yeah.
Like there's an ability to express the sign very authentically, right? But it's also a culmination, right? Like 29 degrees, 27 minutes, like this is very much very, very, very near the end of Aquarius, right? So there's like a culmination of things happening with that. And maybe you can kind of feel that like as a theme in your life, like those Aquarian themes really
Yeah.
peek through quite abruptly, you know? Yeah. I do. I also have a planet at the 29th. I'm Mars and Scorpio at the 29th degree.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
interesting.
it is. It is interesting because both my siblings are Scorpios too. Sometimes I feel like I'm more of a Scorpio than both of them though, because of some of my my own placements. I'm like, I feel like I'm even worse. I'm a Virgo technically, but you guys, I'm even worse than you. You know, I'm even more toxic than my two Scorpio siblings. So it's like, yeah.
Definitely Matthew, yeah. Definitely more toxic than Matthew.
Definitely more toxic than Matthew. Not quite as toxic as Melissa.
She's getting better though.
I'm getting worse.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Matthew's so chill. Matthew shouldn't have been a Scorpio. He should have been like a Taurus or something.
Does he have other things in his chart that kind of balance out his?
Yeah, he's got like, what does he have? He's got like Jupiter in, what's before? He's got like his Jupiter, I think in Libra or something. Like right next to, or maybe it's not in Libra, maybe it's in Virgo. No, I can't remember. But it's Jupiter and it's in another sign and it's right next to his sun sign.
Jupiter's in Libra.
Is it? Yeah, I can't remember if it was, I can't remember his exact chart, but I think it's the sign before Scorpio. So it must be Libra, right? Libra, Scorpio.
Yes.
So yeah, he's got his Jupiter in Libra and it's right next to his sun. So it kind of makes him like it makes him more of a Libra than a Scorpio. Like, do you know what I mean? Like his Jupiter is sitting like at like the last degree of Libra and then his sun is like at the first degree of like Scorpio. So it's like he's still a Scorpio, but he's got like a little bit of a Libra quality to him. So he's kind of a mellowed out Scorpio.
Yeah.
Whereas Melissa's not that.
He's a mellow to anything.
Huh?
He's pretty much mellow for any
Matthew,
any
yeah,
side.
he is. He is really mellow. But he's also got his Mars in Taurus, which is very mellow energy. Right?
Yeah.
Mars in a Venus ruled sign of Taurus. Like it's very slow and steady, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's in Aquarius rising though. I'm pretty sure he's in Aquarius rising. Can't remember what his moon sign is, but yeah. Yeah. But yeah, maybe think about that 29th degree. That sun, that's the most important planet in the chart usually.
What
Is
is
that
that?
nice?
Are you looking at your chart?
Trying to.
Let me see. 29, it says next to it.
All over the place. 29 degrees from what?
29 degrees of each sign. Because each sign is 30 degrees. Each sign is 30 degrees. It's the circle's 360
Yes,
degrees.
but, yeah,
Each
okay,
sign is 30 degrees. So the
Alright.
29th degree of each sign is the
Of each one?
of each one.
Oh, okay. So there's not a particular point you're looking for. There's in each.
Your sun's not quite there. Your sun's at 27 degrees. I don't think you'll have any. Ooh, no, never mind. Moon in Capricorn at the 29th degree. So you do have, that's weird that we actually all have placements at the 29th degree. Sometimes yeah, because in my astrology course that I'm doing, all of the people in the course either have planets at the 29th degree or the 1st degree.
Well,
That's funny.
Like, is that like where the people that show up?
Yeah, I think it's like the people that show up to this have the 29th degree placement. I'm gonna have to check everyone else's chart when I get home. Everyone who usually comes to these, I'm gonna have to like go look through. I'm gonna have to look through Jen's chart and look through like Jessica's chart and be like, do they have any 29th degree placements? Oh, I forgot. What's your?
Wait, which sign is this one?
But your moon that's Pisces.
Pisces. Okay, and that's Venus, right, with the arrow?
No, that's Mars.
Oh, Mars. Okay, that one's Venus.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the female male symbol. They used to be different. I don't know why they do that, but yeah, your moon is in Capricorn. Do you see where your moon is?
This is what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the moon in Capricorn. See, it says 29 degrees and then 3 minutes, right? 29 degrees, that's the last degree of the sign. So that's, yeah. That's an anaretic degree placement, which is supposedly not good, but but I don't know, we all have it, so it can't be that bad. It's just, yeah, I think it just highlights a more subtle theme when you get people in a group that all have placements at the same degree. It's kind of getting into like harmonics and stuff though, like the degree theory stuff is like very interesting, but yeah, like the harmonics is it's kind of like getting into like the weirder sort of stuff, like the numbers, like numerology type stuff, like the symbolism of numbers, like what each number means, because you can divide up the chart into so many different ways, right? With degree theory, it's kind of like you're dividing the chart up into like 30 pieces, right? And each degree is said to represent something different. Each degree of, each sign kind of represents something different. Cool. Yeah. There's a book on it that I've been meaning to read. I think it's called like Sabian Symbols or something, and it's about degree theory. And yeah, but I think it's more of an advanced topic, but yeah. Maybe something to look into. It's not something that you'd really see, I think, in a standard natal interpretation, It's something like if you really wanted to dig in really deep to your chart, then that's what you'd look at. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, where was I? Yeah, I was talking about...
Sun enters Aries. And then we got into...
Yeah, we were talking about... Because I was talking about how Neptune's at the 29th degree right now. So Neptune's at that anaretic degree of Pisces, right? So again, it's like there's a lot of knowledge with Neptune being at the 29th degree of Pisces, but there's also a culmination of something happening with Neptune being at that final degree of Pisces before it moves into Aries, right? And so that you're going to see a bit of that on the March 19th because the sun is going to pass over Neptune, right? And it's going to form a conjunction with Neptune. And then the next day, right, it's going to go into Aries, right? Because again, Pisces is right before Aries, right? The last degree of Pisces and the first degree of Aries. So it's like the ending and the beginning, right? That's kind of the theme that's going on. It's also too, it's interesting to me. I don't know. I think something big is definitely going to happen. It's the astrological new year, technically, when the sun moves into Aries, right? Because it's the start of spring. It's a spring equinox, right?
I was going to ask you about that.
It's also the International Day of Astrology. That's probably why, because it's the astrological new year, right? So
I need a t-shirt that says that and wear it.
What, like Day of Astrology, yes. International Day of Astrology? Yes. I'm sure you can find it. Maybe if I get big enough on YouTube, I'll make merch. I'll make merch. International.
Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah.
Make your own shirts and sell them.
International Day of Astrology. I'd want to put if I made shirts, though, I'd want to put something really funny on them and really absurd.
Yeah, you gotta turn your videos, your reels into like astrology humor.
Yeah.
Things. Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a Virgo, don't talk to me. I'm a Virgo, so I have anxiety, so stay away from me. Something like that. Like, just like that. Like, have it, like, I'm a Virgo, I have anxiety on the front, and then on the back, stay away from me or something. I don't know.
Your followers can come up with some good.
Yeah. Not yet, I don't have the funds for that. One day, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, so like new beginnings, new ventures, there's kind of like renewed energy too with the astrological new year. The thing is too, people, I've ranted about this so many times, I feel like, but January should not be the new year. Like, it just shouldn't be. It's like the dead of winter. It's like, and it's like winter, it's dark out still. Like, it's like the darkest it's ever going to be. And people are like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make like 5 New Year's resolutions. I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to eat nothing but vegetables. And I'm going to like get up at like 5 a.m. And it's like, okay, that's not going to work. You know what I mean? Like, it's like something like, I think 80% of New Year's resolutions fail. So if you want to set a resolution, do it at the astrological New
Do
Year.
it when
Right.
the sun is in Aries. That would
Yeah.
make sense.
Do it when the sun is in
Yeah.
Aries, right? Because that's the start of something, you know?
Mm.
And that's also when you see nature start to wake up. You know,
Mhm.
that's when you see the flowers starting to sprout, right? That's kind of, you know, and in our modern society, we're very out of sync with sort of the natural cycles of nature. So maybe we should try to, you know, get more into that, you know? Yeah. But if you've been kind of thinking about something, because the winter months are really reflection time up until the astrological New Year, I think that January is still a good time to reflect on your goals, right?
Yeah.
But it's not the time to act on them, right? So you want to kind of reflect in the winter months, and then when it gets to the astrological New Year, that's when you want to actually like put your plan into action, you know? But yeah, you kind of want it to be like maybe one thing. Like you don't want there to be too many things that you're doing, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And then we're getting in on March 21st. So we're getting like on the 21st, we've got Venus forming a sextile to Pluto. And then on March 23rd, we've got the sun forming a sextile to Pluto. And then on the 25th, we've got Mercury forming a sextile to Pluto.
Wait, say those again? The Venus and then
Venus sextile Pluto on the 21st. Sun sextile Pluto on the 23rd.
Yeah.
Mercury sextile Pluto on the 25th.
Okay.
And remember, we already saw 2 Mercury sextile Pluto on March 5th, but then Mercury went retrograde, so it's going to do it again. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So we're getting like a bang, bang, bang.
Pluto, Pluto, Pluto.
Yes, Pluto, Pluto, Pluto. So it's like Venus. These are all the inner planets, right? Like Venus, Mercury, the sun. These are all like the inner planets. The inner world meets the outer world, the very outer world, right? Because Pluto is the last thing, right? So yeah, we're seeing a lot of Pluto. That's kind of the main thing though to keep in mind with this. You're seeing an influx of transmutation,
War
right?
and Pluto, huh? That's what's gonna happen.
Pluto, war.
Well, Aries and like war.
Yeah. Yeah, we might see a bit of that, but it's like the transmutation energy, there's like something that needs to be addressed or conceptualized differently, because with Pluto and Aquarius, it's all about newness. It's all about conceptualizing things differently, seeing things differently, right? And I don't know, sometimes we see like a lot of negativity, like especially just, you can see it in the collective. You see it definitely through online spaces too. You can see a lot of discord sometimes through online spaces. And a lot of it is just like, kind of like a purging almost of stuff coming through, right? Yeah, like it's a little bit nasty, you know? Like sometimes when we get into disagreements or when things feel really chaotic or like off kilter in the world, like they do right now, it can feel very gross, you know?
Yeah, I know.
And when things feel very gross, we tend to, as humans, I'm kind of realizing that we tend to take it out on the people next to us that are closest to us as a means of kind of like exerting control, you know? Because we can't control sometimes the outcome of the world or the way that society shifts all the time, which really sucks, you know?
Yeah,
So we
watch out for that.
try to kind of take it out on others, right? As opposed, it's kind of like blaming individuals as opposed to the system. Sometimes we get too much into that. So you want to kind of watch that, but also watch how sometimes those really deep, kind of gross, dark feelings can really motivate you towards doing something better, towards building something better, towards like building a community, towards like, you know, furthering a sense of oneness with people, right? Because oftentimes we feel very ashamed of like rage and anger and hatred, and like, you know, we try to suppress that. So don't try to do that, right?
Yeah.
Kind of try to see what you can do with that. you know? Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's also too, I do think it's going to be, there could be a sense of suddenness with this too, because Aquarius is always very sudden, you know? So it could be something sudden, but it also, because it's Pluto though too at the same time, it could be something subtle, right? So it could be something very sudden and apparent, but it also could be something very subtle, being kind of like planted like a seed, you know, deep within you that you aren't aware of until much later, right? Yeah. And then on March 27th, we've got Venus entering Pisces, forming a conjunction to Neptune. So we're getting a lot of Neptune and Pluto this month, like a lot of it. And so remember too, Venus was in Aries, and then it went retrograde, right? At the beginning of the month. And so now it's in Pisces again, right?
What day was that?
That's March 27th.
Venus entering Pisces, forming a conjunction to Neptune.
Yeah. Neptune again sitting at that last degree of Pisces, and then Venus retrograde moving back into Pisces, right? Venus is, it's interesting, Venus is exalted in Pisces because when Venus is in Pisces, it kind of represents an unconditional universal love, right? It's unconditional love. Yeah, but it's interesting to me too, you see, again, we're seeing that Aries Pisces polarity throughout the month, right? Where it's the end and the beginning, or the beginning and then the end. Like you're kind of going back and forth between the two.
It's still retrograde at the end?
Yeah.
So what does that mean that it's usually you said unconditional and eternal love? What does it mean
when it's retrograde
in that?
When it's retrograde in that, it still has that same element to it, but it's kind of toned down, kind of hidden away. Like as I was saying with those Venus retrograde themes, it's like very feeling things very deeply, but also trying to not let others see how deeply you feel those things, right? And that's too why I think we need to be careful too with Venus and Pisces, even though it's exalted and it's very lovely and very unconditional, it can also lead to kind of becoming disillusioned, right? Like with people in your life or with society or with humanity, right? Kind of like losing hope, losing faith. I think that's another aspect of Pisces that doesn't get talked about very much. Oh no, hopefully someone's not hurt. But yeah, again, it's very liminal too. Pickles, hello Pickles. I love that name.
Pickles.
I do like Pickles, but I like the name Pickles. It's like your cat's named Potato. We saw the other one, that other cat was outside. Eddie?
Yeah.
Is it Eddie?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a boy. He was very friendly though. He has a very interesting meow.
Well, he lost his voice.
Oh, did
He
he?
used to be very, very loud and talkative, and then he lost his voice mysteriously.
He lost his
And now
voice
he's like-
mysteriously.
Yeah, we don't know why, and the vet doesn't know why. But he doesn't seem to be in any danger or sickness or anything like that. But
That's really weird.
yeah, so he's just got this little. It's kind of nice because he was really noisy before.
Oh, was he?
So it works out. Now he knocks on the door though because he can't meow. So he's like.
So he can still communicate. He can still communicate
Oh, yeah.
well.
A
He just has
Bengal
to-
cat will find a way to communicate.
They're both Bengal cats, right?
No,
Aren't they? Or
Potato
is he Siamese?
No, he's just a tabby. He's
Oh,
like
okay.
the Timo version of Eddie.
Mm.
Yeah, like not as special.
But he's like chunkier, right? Like he's like,
Very chunky. Yeah.
Fat cat.
he's
On a
so
diet
cute.
chunky.
He's
And
so
we got
cute.
bunnies, and he just sits and watches the bunnies like their TV. He's just like,
Does he?
yeah.
Is he gonna catch one? I feel like a bunny might be too big to
Yeah, they're protected.
catch. The bunnies, okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this month, I want to say with this month, because there's so much Pisces stuff and like Neptune stuff this month, because it's so liminal, like you want to be aware of like spiritual, like on a spiritual level, what you're like the energies you're letting into your space, you know? Because sometimes things can come in that we don't necessarily want to come in, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't believe in that.
What?
Entities. Like demons. That's why you let me play with the Ouija board when I was like a kid, because you were like
on about that again, aren't we?
the Ouija board. Well, it's like literally you're like
We're gonna
letting a
start talking about
child.
the Ouija board?
Like I could have been down there being like, oh, let me summon a demon. I'm gonna summon a demon with this Ouija board, and your mom were like, yeah, it's fine. Like you just let a demon into the house. Why not?
Yeah,
Satan
from what I
himself
recall,
can
you
come
were
and.
very keen to, you were keener to use it than I was to let you.
Yeah, true. I was very excited about it, about using the Ouija board. I
It's
don't
a
really
funny
use it
thing.
anymore
It
though.
worked.
It-
It worked good for me when I was a kid, and now it doesn't.
It worked good for you when you were a kid.
Yeah.
No, but how old were you when it spelled out, the Ouija board spelled out his
Getting totally
wife's?
off topic here.
No, it's not really, because when I usually do my lives, when I usually do my lives, I usually talk about witchcraft too.
It was Corey's.
Yeah, so we are talking about witchcraft.
It was Corey's wife, the girl he married.
Yeah,
It
but the
spelled out
Ouija
her
board
name?
spelled out his
Just
name.
her initials. But it was correct. It was the right initials. And at the time, it was somebody he couldn't stand. Right? She was a girl that just. It's like what?
So when the initials came up, you knew who it was about. Like, yeah.
The
Yeah,
board
LA
knew who
Ouija
he was
board
gonna
knew.
marry.
Yeah. Wow.
The initials, yeah. I mean, out of just okay, like
Wait,
just
have
his
you
like
ever summoned a demon?
no. I don't think.
You said it.
I don't think I've summoned a demon. Unknowingly, maybe. Okay, but there's some witches that I follow. We're getting really off topic, but there's some witches that I follow. I don't know enough about demons, but they're essentially demons are really demonized. But demons, someone said that they used to play light as a feather, stiff as a board when they were a kid. Yeah. There was like a movie that popularized that. I don't even know where that came from. That was a thing for a long time. Light as a feather, stiff as a board, and then you could levitate, but then you didn't levitate, obviously. But yeah, there's a witch I follow that talks about demons, and like demons are like essentially beings of the earth, as like earth beings, earthbound beings, right? So they're not like inherently bad. It's just kind of like the Christian love and light, sort of pure light, like everything has to be light, and like we can't ever work with material reality, you know, sort of thing. So it's like maybe demons aren't bad, you know.
Demons aren't bad.
Exactly. And there's different demons too that represent different things, and there's some demons that people say are like really fun to work with and like really cute and adorable little demons, you know. It's kind of like they're like shadow work. Demon working with demons is like doing your shadow work, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
At least that's kind of how I see it. But no, I don't think I've summoned a demon ever. I hope not. Maybe I will in the future, but I need to like, because when you're a kid, you just do stuff, you know, and now I'm realizing like, oh, maybe I should actually know what I'm working, like the energy I'm working with before I work with it. You know, when you're a kid, like you're like, oh my god, this is so fun, we're gonna summon demons. But it's like when you're an adult, you're like, maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe I just need to look into some things before I decide to do that. But I don't know. Your mother used to say you were a beautiful demon child. I can't tell if that's a compliment or not. If my mother called me a beautiful demon child, I don't know if I'd find that as a compliment. It's like a backhanded compliment. Yeah, I guess so. If your mother was like a witch, maybe it would be like a compliment. Okay, where are we now? We're almost done. March 29th, we have solar eclipse in Aries, right? So we got that lunar eclipse early on in the month, like when was it? Somewhere the 13th. So we got March 13th, lunar eclipse, March 27th, solar eclipse. So that entire window from the 13th to the 27th is like the eclipse portal that people talk about. That's that liminal space, that liminal period. Yeah. Solar eclipses, again, unlike the lunar eclipse is happening on the full moon, and then the solar eclipse happens on the new moon, right? Which makes sense when you think about it, because the new moon is when the sun and the moon are conjunct one another, right? They're forming a conjunction, because it's like a conjunction is just the start of a cycle, right? So it's like every time a planet forms a conjunction, it just means that they're starting a cycle with one another again, right? So that makes sense, right? Because when it's conjunct the sun, and then at some points, because the moon has sometimes its orbit is like slightly above or below the sun, but sometimes it'll be right in the exact path of the sun, right? And that's when you get that solar eclipse, right? And obviously there's specific locations on the earth, like we won't get the solar eclipse here, like it'll probably be somewhere else, right? So it's not as potent usually, right? Whereas if it was happening here, you'd feel it a bit more. But yeah, so this time, instead of the moon kind of being obscured in the shadow of the earth, the moon is actually blocking out the sun. And that's why you can see the like sun's rays around the moon if you were to like look up at it. Obviously you don't want to look up at it without those like goggles or whatever, but like, yeah, that's what you'd see. You're seeing the moon basically, right? The outline of the moon. Yeah, so you're getting more, again, less solar principle, more lunar principle, right? But it's still it's still interesting because Aries is still so like energetic, and it's got like a lot of drive and initiative, right? So even though there's like this more lunarness, there's also like a balance going on too, right? Yeah. And it's just interesting. So we've got that lunar eclipse in Virgo, and then so we've got Virgo and Aries, right? So we've got Virgo is very much health and service, and then Aries is kind of the self, right? So Virgo is a little bit more about helping others, helping other people. Aries is a little bit more about focusing on ourselves, right? So maybe there's kind of like a balance there that needs to be adjusted, right? Yeah, so just stuff to think about. Again, with the eclipse though, you want to chill out. You want to like maybe journal a little bit, like jot down maybe what you're feeling throughout that kind of eclipse window. You know, pay attention, but don't worry too much about it. And if you see people online that are like fear mongering and like freaking out, like it's the end of the world, it's an eclipse, like just know that they're probably saying that because they want to get their engagement up on their Instagram reels and their TikTok videos. Yeah. And then last thing, March 30th. This is a big thing though. Remember, this entire time I've been talking about how Neptune is sitting at that last degree of Pisces, that 29th degree of Pisces. Well, on March 30th, Neptune is moving into Aries, moving out of Pisces and into Aries. Okay, so that's a pretty big deal. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal because of just all of the things that are happening right after the other. Pluto went into Aquarius for the first time ever last year, roughly a year ago, January, like it was late January 20 something, can't remember the exact date, but yeah. And then it went back into Capricorn, it retrograded, went back into Capricorn, went into Aquarius again, and now all of a sudden, you know, a few months later, Neptune's moving into Aries. And then a few months after this, we're going to get Uranus and Gemini. So it's like boom, boom, boom. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like all of the
major shifts.
a lot of things happening with all these planets changing signs, because they don't change signs very often. So you don't see them switching signs at like around in the same period, right? Yeah, so kind of a big deal. It's a beginning of the era of the self, sort of, right? Things are going to be picking up pace quite a bit with Neptune moving into Aries. Aries is one of what we call like an sort of an outward oriented sign. some people call them masculine versus feminine signs, right? So it's kind of like the pace is picking up. I like to say that the water is a bit restless though, you know? A storm is kind of brewing, right? Especially with Neptune. The sea imagery with Neptune is very apparent, because Neptune is in Roman mythology the god of the sea, and Aries is very hot-headed, very temperamental. So it's literally hot waters, getting into hot waters. So you're going to see that on an individual level a bit, but definitely collectively you're going to see that. I also think I've been talking too about environmental impacts relating to the water, to the sea, to like kind of what we've been seeing, the increasing pattern that we've been seeing of like sort of like hurricanes, like really severe hurricanes kind of down south, like down in like Florida and like places like closer to the equator. But yeah, you're going to keep seeing that, and it's going to get worse. I think with this. Yeah. But it's very much linked though. I think this Neptune and Aries, it's very much linked with the Pluto and Aquarius energy and the Uranus and Gemini, right? Pluto and Aquarius being about freedom, collective liberation. And Uranus and Gemini is so just unrestrained, very like unrestrained chaos. The last 3 times Uranus has been in Gemini, there has been some kind of war. Like there was like, the last time it was like World War III, I think. And then before that, it was like the American Civil War. And then before that time, it was the American Revolution.
Whoa.
So
World War II, you mean? Or
when they were fighting for independence, I think. Yeah.
American Revolution. I meant
The, like,
World War, the first one you said. Is that
The World War III, the last time Uranus was in Gemini, that was during World War III.
What was World War III?
World War II.
World War II, yeah.
What am I saying? No, I have just predicted that. We're getting another one. I just predicted that. Maybe, was it a slip of the tongue? I guess we'll never know. Was it a slip of the tongue, or are we getting a World War III?
3 major American wars.
Yeah, 3 major, or wars that America was heavily involved in. Yeah.
Ooh.
But I think there's a shift, though. I see a shift still going on, even though I see that there's like a lot of chaos. This time is like a little different, especially because of the Pluto and Aquarius. It's a little bit different in that I think there's more focus on community building. Like there's going to be a shift away from like, I almost see like a shift away from government structures and power structures and towards community. Like I see people kind of coming together and like actually building like care networks to support their community through like hard times, right? Like I remember there was a creator I stumbled across. Oh, the asteroid. Yeah, the asteroid they think might hit us in 2032. That makes a lot of sense with all the stuff we've got going on. Have you guys heard about that? The asteroid. They're predicting an asteroid might hit us. You've seen that.
Who's they?
NASA.
Yeah, okay.
The actual.
Have I seen it? If you say so.
No, it's like an actual asteroid that they think might hit us. They're like saying there's a 2% chance. They think there's a 2% chance that it might hit us. Though there's like a
Ben Affleck or
yeah, but like there's a 2% chance it might hit us, but they're not okay because the thing is they detected the asteroid, right? So they detected the asteroid, but the asteroid is moving away from us currently because it has like an orbit, right? So it's moving away from us, so they won't really be able to tell as much about it until it kind of gets closer to us. But yeah. Someone said they don't like my friends. What? That's so mean.
Oh, yeah.
That's my dad. That's not my friend, that's my dad. You don't like my dad.
Oh, that's a really mean thing to say.
I know, people online say a lot of weird stuff, but yeah, I don't really care though. Sorry.
Pickles didn't say that.
Yeah, I know. It was Pickles.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, I know.
Pickles. Good name, bad temperament.
Good name, bad temperament. Jeez. Okay, I think that's all I got though. But yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I was gonna say though, there was this person I stumbled across on like my TikTok, and they were talking about like how everyone wants a revolution, no one wants a bake sale. Sort of thing, right? People like
Yeah.
want these kind of big like these big shifts, but they don't like want to do the work, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. But I think there we're gonna see more people. Why did you tell on me?
You put it on the internet.
Yeah, I know. I had to say it. I'm sorry. It was just too funny. Because that's my dad. That's not even my friend. And this is Megan. Megan actually is my friend. I like Megan quite a bit. You've got, someone's got bad vibes. It's definitely you, though. It's definitely you doing that. It's that too serious Capricorn moon.
No, you're very likable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we
Not to
appreciate
everybody,
the
apparently.
support. What?
Not to everybody, apparently.
Appreciate the support. You're intimidating. You were actually really scared. I always take him in to look at. No, but I always take him in with me. He's such a good sport about it. But if I'm like, I remember going, like I used to go shopping sometimes in like town and stuff. And I would always like force him to like come with me into the stores. Instead of like, you'd be like, oh, can I wait outside? And I'd like bring you into the store. Because the sales clerks, at least everybody got a laugh out of it. That's what Pickles said, yeah.
Good job, Pickles. You
Good
did.
job, Pickles.
We all laughed a lot.
Yeah.
We love you anyway.
Tell your dad I'll buy him a beer to make it to make up for it. Aw, that's so cute. You're forgiven, Pickles. We forgive you. Or maybe not though. He still looks kind of ticked off. Yeah, he's scowling.
Wait, what did he do in the stores?
I would just take him in. Yeah, I would just take him in.
They wouldn't come and ask her questions because I'd be walking.
Yeah, he'd be walking behind me. They would just walk away. It was like a bodyguard. Yeah, it was great. Because then I just got left alone. Because they can be so annoying. They come up to you. They're like, what do you want? Like, let me help you. Like, do you want this? Buy this thing. And it's like, I just want you to leave me alone, actually. You know?
I think it must be wearing off though because I get bothered in stores a lot these days.
Do you?
Yeah. Can I help you? Does it look like I need help?
No.
Gonna make his custom astrology shirt.
Yeah, I know. Well, I already sent him his chart.
Oh, no, like a shirt. Like what would
Custom
his
astrology.
whatever his catchphrase would be based on.
I'm a Capricorn moon, leave me alone. It's like the same thing as a Virgo.
I guess the Libra shirt you said was right. Leave me alone.
Libras are usually really friendly. Maybe it's because Pickles is a Scorpio. Okay, that explains a lot, actually.
Oh, okay.
Scorpios would say that. Like, Scorpio would be like that.
Like your friends.
That is Scorpio would
shirt
say that. That's what the Scorpio shirt's gonna say.
Aw, Pickles gave us the first shirt.
Yeah. I'm a Scorpio. I hate everyone or something.
Aw,
Yeah. Scorpios do hate everyone though. They be hating. Okay, well that's everything. That's the Astro Meet. So thank you to everyone for joining. Thank you, Pickles, for the comedic relief. I have to. How do I end this again?
Come back next time, Pickles.
Yes, come back next time, Pickles. I feel like Pickles is usually here though. I always see Pickles here. Pickles is a savage though.